So anonymity, spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us, place principles before personality. So I'm thinking about this this morning a little bit, and so anonymity, foundational, and you know, many times this especially in recovery fellowships, is the idea of anonymity is at first understood to be in secret. That we're secret here, you know, we're not going to tell anybody who we saw here, and hopefully we're not going to tell anybody what we heard here, and so it's a kind of a secret society, and that's really not what it means. Anonymity means faceless, nameless, the same as. So yes, one of the principles we practice in regards to anonymity is to not say who we saw, because, and the reason we don't say who we saw is because they're supposed to be faceless. We're not supposed to connect with the face with the name, actually, right? So really what this anonymity is about is that for our purpose of carrying a message, purpose of service, there is no difference between any of us. Now, in a recovery fellowship, this is like what we're saying is, in the group, we're of course equal. But really, this principle goes on. If we really want to practice it, it goes on to apply to really every area of our life. So we remember that when we're talking about relationships, we said that the first tradition, which concerns common welfare and unity, which actually says that our personal well-being depends upon unity. So now for us, when we think about this idea of unity, we are also thinking about it in the same context as the Aramaic word for God. So this unity that we're talking about, that our personal well-being depends upon this sense of being unified in life. Not that we actually learn it or talk ourselves into it, but that we come to see, that we come to realize that it is actually the condition of life, that unity is the condition of life. And it is when we come to recognize that and make some intention to live within that our suffering starts to go away. When we stop fighting, when we stop feeling like we're alone, when we stop feeling like we are at odds with everyone else. But thinking about unity as being a larger concept than just the idea that we kind of feel like we go together. That what we're talking about really is the essential fabric of life, is this unity. And in the instruction that I give to when I do the wedding ceremony, it says, keep the common welfare in your heart, for the joy of the one depends upon the harmony of the two. So in a marriage, be thinking about the two. And that's where the happiness is going to come from. The happiness comes from being in harmony with your partner. And there isn't going to be any without that harmony. It's always going to be a struggle. It's always going to be, it's always going to be nothing but, and by the way, this idea of common welfare is not, although compromise can be involved, it's really not saying, well, we'll give a little bit of my thing and take a little bit of your thing and put the thing together and then see what we got. It's really being able to sit down and come to what is really best for both. That has nothing to do with the preferences of either. That's really the difficult thing. Because if we're just operating by what I would see, because my preference is my agenda. And the only reason I've got a preference, the only reason I got an agenda is because I think I'm lacking something. I think I need something. And so My agenda is all about me getting what I think I need. Now, I got an agreement with you that you provide what I need, and I may give you some of what you need. Right? And we go back and forth with that thing. But what we're talking about here is actually to come to what's the common welfare. And the common welfare is always that sense of connection and the desire for only good to come to everybody involved. Be looking for goodwill, God's will, the best for everybody involved, rather than just some short-term thing or situation that we might want. Well, this doesn't naturally occur to me. What naturally occurs to me is I need stuff. I need something. I'm short. I'm going to come up short. So I've got to be watching out for my interests. But I don't. If I just relax into this idea, what occurs is harmony. And then in harmony, there's no harm coming to me. I don't have to worry about it because everything's operating smoothly. So then the second idea is, now remember what we're saying in the 12th is that anonymity, faceless, nameless, the same as, is the underlying principle in all of this. And it's to take no authority over each other, but in all things surrender to the loving presence in your hearts, allowing this to be your guide. So surrendering our agenda, surrendering our preference. Not that we can't have it. Now this is really important because our preference or these situations or things that we'd like to have, that doesn't mean we can't have them if we surrender our agenda. It just means that I'm not going to put them in front of the common welfare. I'm not going to put my whatever new toy I want to buy in front of the common welfare. I'm not going to spend the rent money, right? I mean, that's a really simple one there. I'm going to make sure, that the other things are taken care of before. But it doesn't mean I can't have it. It just means I'm going to surrender my need and allow that loving God to express through us, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 of us, however many it happens to be. So, and the understanding is that presence does actually live in my heart. Not just mine, but in my partners, in my associates. So then what happens is that when the things come, there doesn't have to be any guilt attached to them. There doesn't have to be, they can just be enjoyed for the time that we have them and then freely passed on when we don't need them anymore. And then the third one is accept one another without conditions, not trying to change each other. So here we, the problem is when I'm not in anonymity, I'm not looking at you as faceless, nameless, the same as. I'm seeing personality. I'm seeing different qualities, that some of which I like and some of which I don't like. And those that I don't like, I'd like to change. And so this idea here is to just let them be. Whoever it is, just let them be. And let them do whatever it is that they're going to do. Except if it's going to be harmful to me, then that just means I have to get out of the way. And I like that. And I was reading in the Course in Miracles, actually they were reading it to me on the audio book, in the Manual for Teachers at the beginning, it says that we're all in these teaching and learning situations all our life, whether we recognize it or not. It's what's going on. And there are people who come to us for a period of time and then go somewhere else. So, because you have done everything that you can at this time with each other. So if thinking about it this way, that means that, and what I like about it is, it doesn't mean that, like, if it was a married couple, it doesn't even mean like that you would get, like, okay, that means, well, if things aren't going right, we just get a divorce. or not quite as severe, but on the road to it, we'll just go get a separation and we'll live separately for a while. It can mean just something as simple as go apart for an hour. Go to your corners. But going away, going apart from each other, here's the key to the whole thing. Whether it's an hour, a day, a week, or some longer separation, or even a divorce, when we go apart, the mental condition, the what I hold on to has got to be that same picture of loving, and I have got to be able to love, extend love to the person, even though we've gone our separate ways. Because if I can't do that, then I've left a lesson unlearned that will repeat with somebody else. And it may be. I mean, the same problems that we're having at home, we may be having to a different degree with every person in our life. It's just that there's other details that go along with it. So then, don't stop making decisions for other people. Let them be self-governing. Be self-governing yourself. And the only time it even becomes an issue is when the decision we make has a negative impact on someone else. Otherwise, we're cool, no problem. Just do what you want. And I think this need to control the behavior of others is not healthy, no matter what it is. I mean, even with our children, our goal should be with our children is to give them the appropriate amount of autonomy linked with the appropriate amount of responsibility, and to stand back and watch. The thing with kids is, as we give them freedom, we need to monitor them. Sometimes not just children, because Eric and I were left unmonitored because Debbie went out of town for 2 days, and we put a new television and sound system in the living room. See, we needed monitoring. We needed someone here to supervise us because we're just like kids. It had a little line across it. The old one. Well, it was fun anyway. But that's what I'm saying, though. This kind of thing, I mean, I am saying that sometimes somebody can help you. Not to tell you don't do it, because look, if you want it and you can afford it and it doesn't hurt anybody else, that's fine. But there's nothing wrong with having somebody to kind of bring you back in, bring you back a little bit and say, well, let's, before you do this, maybe we should think about it a little bit more. I'm not guilty. Establish a purpose for life of love and service. And this is the board that we had outside before the one that's up there now was the idea of living on purpose. To have a purpose, and if we understand that basically we all have the same purpose at this base level, which is to give service, to be helpful, to promote unity, to promote the coming together, to help with forgiveness so that we can all come together. Because it's not just a political slogan. We really are all in this together. And the sooner we see it and relax ourselves into it, the better the better off we're going to be, and the sooner then we'll see that the world is a paradise and not a desert. So, to have a purpose in life, but this is, I think this is such an important thing for a fulfilled life is so I understand that my purpose is, you can call it forgiveness, you can call it extending love, you can call it giving service, it all comes down to the same thing. But I understand that basically is everybody's purpose. I still have to decide what is specifically what it is I'm supposed to do. And this, of course, is where if Course in Miracles explains it like very well to me. It says that right now, temporarily, we each have different attributes, qualities. We each have different talents and abilities. Temporarily, we have something that someone else may not have. And that could be a talent, or it could be a possession. It could be money. Could be anything that we would be guided to give in service. We may have it temporarily, they do not. That doesn't change our status of equality. It just means that right now I have this thing, and so then part of my purpose of giving love and giving service would be to share this talent with you for your good. Now, this is a tricky thing too, because sometimes I want to share my talent and you don't want it. And sometimes it may be totally inappropriate for me to try to force it upon you. So I want to know what my talents are. I want to be able to share them freely, but I don't want to make anybody have to go along with it. I don't want to get in this. This is something we see when we interfere with the lives of family members and loved ones, because we know for sure that we've got the answer. We know what they should be doing, and boy, what they're doing now isn't any good. And let's, figure out how we can get them on the right track. We can't get them on the right track. I love in the NA literature it says that we stand ready to serve. We are ready. If someone wants us, we are ready to serve. But we are not going out and manacling people and dragging them in so that we can help them. Shut up, sit down and shut up so that we can help you. That's not what we're doing. Although sometimes we get wrapped up in that. So we stand ready to serve. And then from that quiet place of not worrying about lack or vulnerability or any of that stuff, then we serve appropriately. We give what it is that we're supposed to give. So each of us wants to get that purpose in line. And then what the sign says this week is undistracted focus. Focus undistracted. That I then want to put my focus on my purpose and not allow the issues of the ego to distract me from my purpose. Because continually, over and over again, every time I allow those issues to distract me, I suffer. And if I'm paying attention, I will see suffering going on around me that perhaps, maybe not, but perhaps I could have alleviated somewhat if I wouldn't have allowed myself to go down that path of ego issues. It's really enlightened self-interest to focus on our purpose, because that's the time that we're happiest. We're happiest when we are contributing that which is within us to some good, to some common good, to some loved one. We're just happier then when we're actually in the midst of that work. And so it would seem like we would want to keep ourselves involved. But no, continually the ego keeps coming in and saying stupid stuff to us. Like, oh, don't, just keep giving. People take advantage of you. Or if I extend myself this far, I'm going to get hurt. The ego's always saying there's always a lack, there's always a fear. And Spirit is always saying, go ahead, give it, it's not a deal. Go ahead, it's going to be fine. So, and this is what's going to go up there next week, is give freely. Give freely. Because when we don't, when we hold on to it, and this I can remember years ago, Jeff sharing with me about the idea of service and the idea of you only keep what you have by giving it away. And this seems intuitive. It seems like, how could I keep what I have if I give it to somebody, then I don't have it anymore, they got it, I don't have it. Well, of course, the thing is based on like a spiritual principle, saying that as you give away these spiritual gifts that you have, they are not only do you retain them, but they actually grow stronger in you from the practice of giving them. But what Jeff said to me was, what we find is that if we don't give them away, they spoil. They go rotten inside of us. And then they're of no use to anyone. And so all of these, the principles that we learn, the love that we feel should not be misered. We have to give it. We have to allow it to flow. And the reason that we don't, the main reason that we don't, is that we think that if we extend ourselves like that we're probably going to get hurt. Now, and I mean not just hurt like somebody's going to hurt our feelings in that way by, we become vulnerable and then they use our vulnerability against us, but that someone will take advantage. It may have happened in the past, right? But the only time that can really happen is when I've got some ulterior motive in my sharing. Because I'm thinking I'm extending this and I'm expecting this other thing to come back to me. And if it doesn't, then, see, I told you, you cannot be that generous. You cannot just share your heart like that. So, to be equal. Equals you are, equals you shall be. That's why I tell these new couples that I'm marrying to remember that always, that no matter what you do for a living, no matter what your level of education is, no matter what your qualifications are, no matter what accomplishments that you have had in the past, in your relationship you are equal. So we go back to this same